This episode is brought to you by the Project Manga Patreon, the best way for viewers to support the project and allow us a means to keep providing new and quality content to our subscribers. Go to patreon.com/projectmanga and find out more about the perks we have available to patrons, including early access to all of our content and exclusive videos like behind-the-scenes footage and additional manga reviews. That's patreon.com/projectmanga. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to One Shots. I'm your host, Nox.
Hello, Yanis.
And I'm Axel.
And it's been a while since we've done this show, so forgive me for any kind of stumbling or any kind of clunkiness in the intro here. It's been a while since we've done this one regularly, but this was our bi-weekly or twice weekly live manga podcast that we had going like every other Wednesday a few months ago. I think we'll be moving it to more of like a monthly slot moving forward. But yeah, we're finally here to finally discuss Dandadan, and we've all been like really, big fans of the series since it came out. We got Axelablaze joining us here today. Thanks for joining us, Axel.
Yup, just happy to be here in a otherwise very busy weekend.
Yeah, for sure. This is long overdue, though. Dandadan is the new sci-fi occult series, or newer sci-fi occult series by Yukinobu Tatsu, who is the assistant of mangaka like Fujimoto Tatsuki and Kaku Yuji, I believe, as well. I don't know if he's done anything before Dandadan or not.
One-shots, maybe.
Yeah.
But otherwise, this is his debut.
Okay, cool.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. Incredible series. Can't wait to start talking about it. As far as how the stream will kind of go, we'll break down the series in a couple of different categories, talking about the art, talking about the characters, talking about the concepts, things like that. Just an overall comprehensive, holistic review of how we feel about the series so far. And then, once the stream is concluded, we'll go ahead and throw it on Patreon for our early access people. And then a couple days later, YouTube will get it. So you got a couple different ways to catch the stream if you miss it or can't stay for the entire thing. But, yeah. Hey, Kaistu. Yeah, definitely. Definitely go read Dandadan. Oh, wow. That's not right. Let's get this alert box above the chat box. There we go. What up, Sean? Good to see you, man. 15 months. Thank you, brother. You're a champion and a scholar. Shout out to everybody for pulling up for this like kind of short notice stream. We've been talking about how we've been wanting to do it for months now. We wanted to do it after it hit a volume, but now
there's two out now.
There's two out now, and then there's even like almost
more to work with.
Yeah, I feel like there's almost enough for 4 volumes worth of content out by now, but we're finally doing it. We're here. And we're super excited. So yeah, I don't know. Let's just jump like right into things. How about? So as far as
chomping at the bit for this.
Yeah, as far as Dandadan goes, I guess the first conversation that I kind of wanted to have in regard to the series was, what was the first thing that kind of jumped out at you guys when you first started reading the series?
In 2 words, fever dream. Like the whole series is very surreal, and like even like in the first 2 chapters there was a moment where like, hey, did your hair change? And he's like, no, it didn't. And I was like, wait a second, it definitely changed. What are you talking about? Get out of here.
Yeah, Okarune's personality is amazing. All of the personalities are super different, you know what I mean? Like they all feel like wildly different from each other. Anybody that's introduced in the series, it doesn't feel like they fit too much in with someone else. So very colorful cast inside of Dandadan so far. And yeah, Fever Dream is a good way to put that. Axel, what was the first thing that jumped out at you when you first started reading Dandadan?
It felt like a less cringy version of Gantz. Honestly.
Oh wow.
That was so. Like,
shots fired.
I love Gantz,
yeah, Gantz
but I will
good.
be one of the first to acknowledge that it has very big issues.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, but it was one of those things where it's just like, as soon as the aliens and the yokai showed up, it was just like, all right, this art is very reminiscent of Gantz, because that was part of like the art style. It was like you got humans, and then all of a sudden you have this alien that is just like, there's something that's just off about it.
Right.
Like especially
Mm.
like in that very first like arc of Gantz, where they go after like the onion aliens. Like
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's just like, this is, oh, this is creepy.
Yeah.
But like it like after that very first impression, like going into that first chapter, like it was such a ride. Like the fact that I'm someone that I love character expressions
Right.
very much.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why the Tesla Note anime situation pisses me off so much, because I really enjoyed the Tesla Note like manga and like
Mhm.
the range of like facial expressions and whatnot. And the characters in Dandadan are just so expressive.
Right.
Like it's so inviting, it's so interesting, and on top of that, just the fact that you have a mix of aliens and like ghost
Yes.
yokai in like the same series, that doesn't happen. You usually get one or the other,
Right.
and so it's been very interesting, especially reading onwards, that the fact that there are the two is as important to the plot as it is.
Yeah,
But like
absolutely.
that was one of the chapters where I just fell in love right away with the first chapter. And I've said it before, like that, you know, for rookie manga of the year, it was Ranger Reject at one point in time.
Hell yeah.
And I was just like, all right, can anything, you know, meet that bar
Top
of
that.
Ranger Reject?
Mhm.
Dandadan has broken that at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, for sure.
The body of work of Dandadan, like it is currently my manga of the year, or rookie manga of the year,
Yeah.
and that is the bar that I am gonna be shocked if anything can meet it. I welcome it, but
Absolutely.
I doubt we're
Please
gonna
rise to
get
the
to this
challenge,
point.
right?
Right.
Yes, like this
For
year
rookies, it
has
set the
been
bar
very
high as
good.
hell. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This year has been exceptional for
Mhm.
rookie series. And like obviously you have a lot of people that are disappointed by the cancellations of what they thought were the series that would rise to the top. But like when you look past that, like Shonen Jump and Jump Plus in particular, they are rocking with the new series. And
Mhm.
Dandadan, especially for this year, is leading the charge for Jump Plus.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you on that. Going into what you were saying about ghosts and aliens being together in the series, that was actually one of the first things that jumped out to me as well, because considering that those concepts are both kind of like diametrically opposing, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
to a certain degree. Like at the same time, it's cool how the premise kind of lets you know, like, hey, these are both equally unbelievable things, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
just right away, that like I always look for like that cool little like you know, notion being explored in like a manga, and whenever, you know, a notion like that is as important to the plot, you know, as the combination of ghosts and aliens are for a story like Dandadan, right away I was just like, okay, this dude's got something here. You know what I mean? Like this is already going to be cool. The art is fucking delicious too. That was like one of the first things
It's
that
so
jumped out
good.
at me. Like you get a lot of like wide angle perspectives that are used like really often, especially in the beginning. You get a lot of that fisheye lens effect that really adds to like
Mhm.
the aesthetic that really sticks in your mind when you think about the series. Things like
Yeah.
that. Right away, they were doing so many things correctly, and that first chapter was so wild. Holy
It was
shit.
insane.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started reading this, and when I reread it, in preparation, it screamed to me like a silly horror movie. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like the way it was, they're like, hey, let's check it out. Okay, we're gonna be some goofy kids. We're gonna do a test of courage because we're
Yeah.
both outsiders and our lives aren't great. We need a distraction. Let's go. And then, oh, weird cloning, overly sexual, like
Yeah.
gray aliens, and then like it was also very nostalgic too, because
Mm,
um, like the Serpoians
yeah.
look like Ultraman bad guys.
Oh wow, do they?
No, yeah, they literally look like there's an Ultraman bad guy called Dada, and it had like stripes, the whole checkered thing. They had like three faces. So when they do the awesome zone, I think that's like a reference to the three faces it does. And I know that when Ultraman was released, their whole thing was they had three faces, which is the concept of the Japanese proverb: everyone has three faces.
Mm.
One they show the world, one they show the family, and one they show themselves.
Oh
And
sure.
so I feel like that's a big part of the series,
That feels a
personally.
lot like astrology, you know what I mean? Like your sun, your moon, and like your rising signs and whatnot. I
Mm.
think that that's what those represent too, to a certain degree. Now that you
Yeah, I
mention
think
it.
a lot of cultures should have that stuff because I mean that is kind of what it is. Because if you have Ira, she has a very public face. She has a very personal face. She's learning how to do that.
Right.
Um, oh,
Before we, oh, real quick, before we
yeah,
get like too far into this, it should be obvious, but
fair
I don't think
enough.
I said anything. There's gonna be heavy spoilers for the entire series in this
Oh
conversation. I
yeah.
just want to verbalize that
Yep.
just so that it's out there. So like before we get into like the meat and potatoes of like the actual series itself, while we're still on like the what was your first impressions kind of talk,
Mm.
I just wanted to throw that out there. If you are not caught up on Dandadan, or if you haven't read it yet, this isn't going to work like our, you know, why you should read the Breaker stream or why you should read Undead Unluck stream, where we have like a non-spoiler conversation in the middle. We're going right into everything like pretty much right away. So now's your
It's
time to jump out. Otherwise, you just don't care. So
It's a very tight series. Like
yeah,
it's very tight, it's very fluid. It has a sort of like dreamlike quality where you have a reference and then that reference carries on to the next scene.
mm,
Like the biology scene where they have like the mantis shrimp and they're like talking about that stuff and then
yeah,
immediately it carries over into the next couple scenes and arcs.
right.
And so like it has that dream quality where you're not entirely sure how you got to that next part of the dream, you
Yeah,
know that there is one connecting thing and that was enough.
yeah,
Like your brain is making that thing, and that's why I have that fever dream analogy because it
oh
definitely
yeah,
follows that dream logic
yeah,
a little bit. And it's so referential. Like it was just like, man, I know a little bit about some of these random things because I love folklore, I love the occult, I love like aliens and stuff. So like having them referenced and stuff, I was like, oh yeah, this is like reminds me of an old school Ultraman stuff. Like when they had the mantis shrimp alien. There's literally an Ultraman guy named Balton, which is like a shrimp based alien,
holy shit.
and I was just like, yeah, it was just like, man, that's kind of wild. Like how these different references and like the Dada aliens
Yeah,
that the Sepoyans are based off of.
yeah.
Sepoyans, if you go onto like conspiracy theorist blogs, is the Greys, the classical Greys.
Oh sure, yeah. The big
That's
mega
what they're.
mind foreheads down to
Yep,
like the
that's
really
what their
sharp
title is. The
chins. Yeah.
Serpoians. That's their whole thing.
Oh damn.
Um, but like Dada, the creature is reference of Dada, the art, which
Mm,
focuses on like anti-intuition, anti-logic, anti-reason nonsense, and then like the art movement itself is about reusing and modifying existing sources to make new forms of art. So I thought it was really interesting that like, hey, they got the Ken Takakura stuff. They've got the I'm an awkward fellow after all, like old
yeah,
commercial references. Like even the boxers, like the Chiquita Chiquita thing, is a
yeah.
reference to an old energy drink.
Oh
So it's
wow.
like everything is weird and referential. Like the grandma, the exorcist, her stage name is Dodoria. That's the name of a bad guy from Dragon Ball Z. Like,
Oh
yeah, from the
shit.
Ginyu Force. No, it
Yeah.
wasn't the Ginyu Force,
No,
but
I
he looked
think
like
you
a durian.
No, I
He was
think
the
you're
pink
right.
fat one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Hmm.
think that is the Ginyu Force. Dodoria, I
yeah,
Well,
completely
no, no,
forgot
yeah.
no.
about that.
Like,
The
What?
door wasn't part of the Ginyu Force. Dodoria was like
Oh,
the left-hand lieutenant
yeah.
of Frieza.
of
Like the Ginyu
He was from
Frieza.
Force
Yeah,
Frieza
yeah,
arc
was
yeah.
too. Yeah,
a separate thing. Dodoria was
yeah.
not part of the Pose
Yeah, he,
squad.
he got
Yeah,
his arms pulled off by like Vegeta or something.
yeah. That's
But
crazy
yeah,
though. Like
no,
there's
like
so many
everything's
references.
referential.
Yeah, like holy shit. Like Ultraman, like when you said Ultraman and there being like multiple Ultraman references, like that's really cool. I don't really have too much experience with Ultraman. I think the only Ultraman that I ever watched was like Saturday morning, like Fox Kids shit. There was like a dub or something. You know what I
It
mean?
Yeah.
wasn't it wasn't Ultraman, it was Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, and it
Oh
was
shit!
the American adaptation of Gridman,
I
which
swear there was an
just had
Ultraman
an
one though, because he did the thing and like the
so
intro was
that
like
was
Ultraman. You know what
it's
I'm
very
saying?
possible, but I mean,
Yeah,
at the very least, like the one that most people are familiar with
yeah,
is
yeah.
Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, which again was based off of Gridman, which also just had 2 seasons of anime.
Mm,
Season 2 in particular with Dynazenon, oh my god, freaking awesome.
yeah.
But like you can even with watching the Gridman anime or the Dynazenon anime, you can definitely tell the Ultraman-esque vibes of the Dandadan aliens
Hmm.
compared to Ultraman. So like I didn't put those two and two together
Yeah,
until Mello said that, but it's just like, yeah, it clicks. Like
yeah.
Yeah,
it
and they
definitely
even
fits.
even the monkey guy reminds me of like those Sentai series, where they have Kamen Rider and Power Rangers and all that stuff, and they're just like, yeah,
Mhm.
I'm just a guy with a monkey mask, and I have cans. Yeah, that's my power. Like we're
Right.
making, we need a bad guy for this week. Let's go.
Yeah.
Sure, sure.
Well, making like even a tangent like to Ranger Reject again,
Hmm.
like that was part of the shtick in the first chapter. It was just like, all right, we got to combine this animal with this thing. All right, we have a plot. Like
Tiger
this is the
Tron.
monster.
Yeah,
Exactly. So like that's the thing is that like that's kind of what we've been getting in certain regards,
sure.
like just random combinations of things for the aliens. I'm very interested to know whether or not there is some kind of reference or whatnot that they're doing with the alien, or sorry, not the alien, the yokai side of things,
Hmm.
because that at least to me hasn't been as cut and clear compared to the aesthetic for the aliens so
Sure,
Mm,
far.
sure.
But
Well, while
The
we're on
like
the
Turbo Granny is an old one. The Turbo Granny is actually like they call it a modern day yokai, but like the Turbo Granny has been referenced in a bunch of manga. Like it
oh
is
wow,
one
right,
of those urban legends that have been around
yes,
for quite a while.
oh hell yeah,
right. So I mean, it's at the very least it hasn't been anything, I guess, specific then. Like in terms of like everything kind of leaning into like one series, like you mentioned with like the aliens and like the Ultraman side of things.
yeah.
Mhm.
But like yes, like the Turbo Granny is something that has been around for a very long time. A lot of these like yokai references and whatnot have been in several different anime and manga, but I just want to know. Like I am desperate for an interview with the author at some point to just go over
That
the
would be
references and the
insane.
inspirations and whatnot because I am ready for all this to just like unfold and like tell us these things that we've been wondering.
Right.
Eventually we're gonna get there. Like there's no doubt in my mind. Like it Dandadan at this point is like the I, if I had to guess, I think it is the third biggest series on Manga Plus right now, behind Spy X Family and Kaiju number 8.
Ooh, okay.
So it, and I could be wrong. There could be certain
It'd be
things
well
in
deserved.
between.
But it's coming for that number
Because
one spot based on popularity, it seems, anyway.
uh, it is
Gunning
as
for it.
much as I would love to say that that is true. The Spy X Family
Going
has just
crazy.
So
a
cute. It's the cutest.
stranglehold
Oh
on
wow.
number one. The fact
Oh,
that
okay.
Spy X Family, without an anime, has been selling 1.5 million copies of each volume since volume one. Like, that is a
That's insane.
crazy bar
Yeah.
that most other manga do not reach.
Sure.
Like those are crazy. Like 1.5 million manga, that is more than all of Undead Unluck combined
Oh
right
wow.
now. And that has been
Whoa.
sold by one volume of Spy X Family. Like,
That's
That is pretty
wild.
wild.
yeah.
Holy shit. Good
So
job,
like
And it's a
Spy X
series that
Family.
doesn't Yeah, no, and it's a series that doesn't actually like pop out regularly. It's like a bi-weekly series almost.
yes, it is bi-weekly, and even
Yeah,
then,
that's
there
nuts.
have been like off weeks, so it's been like
Wow.
4 weeks
Yeah.
sometimes. But
Sure.
like
Uh
it's one of those ones, and I'm guessing part of the reason for it is just because it reaches a more general audience. let's be honest, Dandadan is mature. That's why we don't get it on the Shonen Jump app. You have to go, if you're using the Shonen Jump subscription, you got to go online like you did for Hell's Paradise.
Right.
And that's why most people use the workaround of using the Manga Plus app, because you can just read it. The Manga Plus app don't give a damn. There's just like, you can have all the mature content you want.
Yeah, it's like, hey,
And-
you're here. This is what we're about.
Yeah.
Like,
And that's
but
what I
yeah,
do with
it
like
is very
Akakashi
mature.
Triangle
Like,
too.
I think the Dandadan, like at first, the first chapter, I was very skeptical at first.
Sure.
When Momo interacted with the Sepoyans,
Yeah.
because I was like, oh man,
It's
they're
gonna be
stripping
like
her,
that.
this is
Oh,
weird.
no.
Ah. And then like they have like the weird like mechanical like
Dick
thing
Yeah.
going on. They're like, it was terrifying. I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
that is a horror movie. Like, you know,
Yeah.
loss of a bodily autonomy, very scary.
Yeah.
And then immediately gets their dick bit off
Fuck
by Turbo Granny, which I was like, okay, cool. It's a Mineta style. It's kind of like sexual harassment type thing, whereas like it's
Oh.
always going to be punished right away.
Right.
So like I appreciate that. But yeah, no, it's a great series about like ghosts, aliens, young love, missing testicles. Like, it's got everything.
Yeah.
It's got everything.
It really does. It really feels like it does. I don't think that there's anything that I don't like about the series, really. Like you were saying, the first chapter was kind of sketchy, but then it goes, you know, and lets you know that it's not going to be like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was
works hard
definitely
to go past that.
yeah, you know, and it's very rompy, you know what I mean, which isn't for everybody at the same time. But me personally, I'm just head over heels in love with the series. I just reread it all last night again to prepare for the stream, and I'm going through it like,
It
man,
really won
this
me
is
over.
A+ in like every area of critique for me, basically. Going back into the
I
art.
didn't even know it was a debut series, and that to me makes it even more
sure.
impressive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
no,
absolutely.
Like, so thank you
No,
for like
it's-
tuning
yeah.
in into that knowledge.
Yeah,
No, like it's with pretty much every one of the Fujimoto assistants, what they put out is their debut series. Like for any one of them, like, and that's the craziest thing. The fact that like all of these really successful people are coming from Tatsuki Fujimoto, like it just goes to show
motherfucker
something
know what
is
he doing.
going on right there.
Yeah.
Like the fact that like that is the thing. And like somebody asked in the comments whether or not Spy X Family's author is also a Fujimoto assistant. I honestly don't know. Like
Let us
that's
know.
one that is a mystery. Like obviously the two that we know of are Hell's Paradise and Dandadan.
Yeah.
Their authors are Fujimoto assistants. And they definitely have the art, they definitely have the writing down.
Yeah.
All fantastic stuff. If anything, I'm just disappointed that people didn't get on the Hell's Paradise train a lot sooner.
Yeah, that was
but
wild to
that
me.
was one of those things where it's just like people read what is the most available to them.
Right.
That is why there is so many people that absorb Shonen Jump material more than anything else.
Right.
So like people weren't necessarily as into getting into the Jump Plus series. Like there are several Jump Plus series that people just do not talk about whatsoever, despite being series that were made available to everyone and had well over 100+ chapters of content.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
So
it's like the Fire Punch to Chainsaw Man problem.
Yes.
Where Fire Punch, really good series, very dark series. I would put it up there with like Aposisms and like the scene and setting and like art and all that good stuff.
Sure.
But it wasn't like people had to jump through a bunch of hoops to go through like the like adult mature Shonen Jump stuff, and then by having Chainsaw Man just straight in Jump,
Yeah.
it went off fire. People love that stuff. It's like, oh man, if you like that, you would have loved the other thing. You just have to dig for it. And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to dig. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, fair enough. I get it.
So he put it in
mean,
the front for
I-
you in the main magazine, and then hopefully that grabs you enough to go back and check out the rest of that guy's body of work. And then now he's even going back to Jump Plus for Chainsaw Man Part 2, I believe. So it feels good.
Or
as like
so we think, you
yeah,
know, it's
or
been
whatever,
forever,
you
but
know.
you know, it's still happening.
But yeah, Fujimoto, man, Fujimoto's got the juice, bro. Like, look at his
Yeah.
assistants. Like, they clearly understand the medium very well and the demographic that they are kind of operating inside of. So it's got top marks for me. I'm sure you guys all agree as well. I definitely want to go back to the art though, just because I feel like the art is something that needs to be talked about at length.
It's special.
Yep.
Yeah, he's
It's got a lot of magic in it.
yeah, it's got a lot of magic.
I've
in
definitely got some thoughts that I would definitely want to share on that too. But
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know. Like, what really speaks to me inside of his art is you could tell that he's, an assistant of Fujimoto. I don't know if this was already a part of his, capabilities or just how much he learned from Fujimoto Tatsuki. But you can see a lot of Chainsaw Man inside of like texture. Like he really knows how to blend like high detail in, like with like the sketchier shading techniques that he uses. So you get like a lot of stark black to scribble gradients inside of the shading and shit like that. The way he layers the screen tones is really cool. There's like a really awesome horror element in the art that we've already kind of been talking about already.
Yes.
The composition of the chapters leans into like page turns, into unsettling imagery quite well.
That was what I wanted to talk about, because like I would not be surprised if Junji Ito is an inspiration
Oh yeah.
for Dandadan because of the execution of the page turn.
Right.
Like that is one of the biggest elements of any Junji Ito work, where like you just flip the page,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you see like that horrifying image.
Yeah,
and
it's
like
that
we've
jump scare
gotten that
effect in
time
movies.
and time
The
again.
jump scare, the
Yeah.
staring at
Yes.
you. You're just like,
Yeah.
oh
We
god,
get
Turbo
that.
Granny.
And you don't necessarily get that as much in like the anime adaptations like you do in like the manga. Like there is a visceral effect of the page turn that you don't get in other mediums. Like it's awesome.
Yeah.
And like I mean, even with like the most recent chapter, like with the frickin' yokai in the hallway with what's his face,
His
like
underpants, the scrunched up face.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
I don't know
again,
what he
just
is.
the fact that you go into the page turn and it's there.
Right.
Like the fact that you had that with Turbo Granny the first time that we saw her, like it's super great. It's and I also just love the drip.
Yeah,
That like
dude.
it's
The
it's one of those
fashion is
things.
fire.
Yes, like it's so cool, like seeing another artist that goes like the Taite Kubo route, the Tokyo Revengers
Ken
route
Wakui, I was just
of
gonna say, yeah.
Ken Wakui, like of just like you're not necessarily that your characters are dressing like that in the series themselves, but
Yeah.
then like for like art and promotional images, you are just dripping them the hell out. Like
Yeah.
it's
I love
great.
the series
is
where it's
so
not
good.
like the the Simpsons episode where you go into Bart's closet and it's like all the same orange t-shirt and like blue shorts or whatever. And a lot, and like not to diss any shonen manga or any manga in general that have the same outfits for characters until you get
One Piece.
until you get big updates to their aesthetic, like coming out of the time skip in One Piece or something like that. But I love how the character designs are just all so great. Everyone is so recognizable. Everyone is so memorable, especially my bae, Granny Dodoria. You know what I mean? Like Santa Dodoria or whatever. I can't remember her like actual name, but
Granny Seiko.
I loved her intro.
Yes, it's so good.
Her hair was like she had this mask and she had like this giant like straw. It looked like a witch's hat almost.
Yeah.
And then when you go like look at her without the mask, she still has her hair up like that. I was like, that wasn't a hat. I was like, bro,
that's her, and she's so beautiful. I love
wild.
both of her outfits. The fucking like Letterman baseball jacket over the booty shorts, and then like when she's at home, she's got like the haramaki over everything, over those like whatever those kind of shorts are. You know what I mean? You know what kind of shorts I'm talking about. I don't think they're booty shorts or boy shorts, but they're like the looser ones. Sport shorts, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? Into like the stockings on the arms and legs. Like everything is just top notch.
The leg warmers.
Yeah,
She reminds me of like those like exercise videos that you get.
Yes.
You're like, all right, now everybody, let's get fit.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And she's always got her hands perched
up.
like inside of the haramaki and shit when she's just like casually standing there, which is just like awesome to me. Like,
dude, she's such a gangster.
The positions that Yukinobu, draws his characters in are always like so just aesthetic, you know what I mean? And like that
body language is really good.
The body language, absolutely. And then, obviously the clothes, lend a lot to that too. So super impressive, character designs. And then the ghost and alien designs are all incredible too. I don't remember the last time I was this interested or like this, taken away by creature or enemy designs, you know what I mean, inside of a series. So it's definitely up there in that regard too for me.
I like that they don't shy away from like the kind of like they balance the sort of like sexuality and innocence that comes with adolescence, because these are kids at a time of their lives where like those thoughts are blooming, and like Okurun, he's just like, wait, this girl is cute. You told me they were cute. Now I
now I
can't
can't
stop
look at her.
seeing.
Yeah.
Can't stop seeing it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that is so like pure and wholesome, and I like that. And like in the first chapter, I liked that like Momo wasn't alone in being kind of sexually harassed by the supernatural, because
Right.
Okurun's like, Turbo Granny's like, I'll suck your dick.
Yeah.
It's just like, and he's like, what? No, I'm out.
Yeah,
Just
please don't.
a hard pass.
Right.
No, so I like that it's like it's very balanced, and like my favorite part right now is the Loch Ness monster arc.
Yes.
I loved that entire fight with
Yeah.
the gig workers
Yeah.
and like what they were doing, and like I liked that they did like the fusion stuff
Yeah.
where, and it, like Dadaism, it's the revolving around reusing and modifying existing forms to make new forms. Like I like that kind of like nod to that. I feel like that's a huge artistic influence into the artist.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's about absurdism. It's like, oh yeah, there's a bunch of walking, talking cans, and
Yeah.
they're just gonna do stuff.
Oh, in that one shot? Well, going back to like the Loch Ness Monster arc, like when I
It was
first
so good.
Yeah, when I first saw like the the head of the reptile like dragon thing that was shooting the fucking hyper beams and shit, I instantly thought like Godzilla, Gojira, you know what I mean? But and then they said Nessie, and I was like, oh shit, okay, Loch Ness Monster shit too. All right, I wonder if it's like a combination of both, or whatever.
I mean, there's like conspiracies that like the Loch Ness monster is an alien, and that's why you see it inside. It's like it's its favorite, like the Loch of Ness is
Yeah.
like its favorite hangout spot, but like they can never find it, and it's like it's an alien. It gets
Right.
beamed back to its planet, man. That's
Right,
why it's
right.
like, all right, fine, whatever. Like,
Well, shit. While we're on the subject of like story arcs, I guess is there like an established story arc like ladder yet? Like I know that we have like the Turbo Granny arc, then you get like the Acro Silky arc, then you get like the maybe I'm missing one in between there, and then you go into the Loch Ness stuff with the Serpoian return and things like that. But just inside of the first little story arc that we get, I think that the exposition that we get in the first couple of chapters through this arc is delivered well, because it's either like a spirit that Ayase knows about because of her experience with her grandmother, or it's an alien that Okurun knows about because he's like a huge like sci-fi like alien nerd or whatever. So it allows like for a really organic delivery of information. You know what I mean? Like it helps for our perception of their capabilities at like any given moment. You know what I mean? Because we know that they're both new to this situation. So like when you're met with these like overwhelming odds inside of these yokai or inside of these aliens, you go, how are our people going to get through this? And then all of a sudden you get a little line of dialogue from Okurun like, oh yeah, I researched this already. These are these guys. And you're like, okay, well that's going to help you kind of overcome this. Or Ayase is going to go, my grandma said this, or something like that, if they're dealing with like a ghost. And then
I like that they're both experts.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no I feel like there's no real power disparity between them knowledge wise, and so like they really balance each other out. Because I feel like I like that this current generation of like mangaka are making strong, like balanced feeling female characters that aren't just I'm strong as stuff and I'm a dude with tits, like they're avoiding that kind of thing, and I really appreciate that. I like that like Ayase, they're talking like they try like some of the people like, hey, her ex-boyfriend's like, hey, you want to put out like you want to buy me food, like whatever, and just like it's like, nah, I'm not about it. I'm not really into it. It's just like, okay, cool. Like it's about a kid who understands what they want. They set like physical boundaries very clearly, and like those that respect it, cool. Those who don't respect it, get like a heel kick to the head. Like it's like, all right, cool. Like I appreciate that. I like seeing that in manga.
He's not just like a naive like
Yeah.
whatever. Like just because you're young and the story is just starting, there doesn't need to be like that played out development of the female main character where
And
they
I
start
don't think
off as
it's
like damsel in distressy or ditzy
yeah.
or stupid or something. She's just right away already knows who she is for the most part, which is really cool,
Yeah.
and she doesn't take shit, which is like always nice to have in your female MC.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
she knows mostly what she's about. Like,
Right,
it's
right.
one of those things where because this series does explore adolescence,
Hmm.
that is really like the one thing that like she has just been like questioning. Like there are like these new feelings and what
Right.
like genuine like connections
Yeah.
that she has
She
with
handles them
Okarun and
really
whatnot.
well
She
comparatively.
does.
Yeah.
Mostly. Like
Yeah.
there obviously like you still get, misconceptions
Yeah,
that feed
it's
into
super
plot
like teen
points.
angsty, like 16 candles at sometimes, you know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yes.
But at
But
the
like
same time, yeah. Ooh, thanks,
it
thanks,
makes
Mello.
it
Oh,
it makes
that's
it so
Kaizoku.
personable
Okay.
because of that though. Like it makes it you you see them as human. Like you
Right.
see them like
Messing up
for
and
what they
growing in real
are.
time.
Yeah.
Right. And it's one of those things where it's like it doesn't play out the same every time.
Right.
I as you are aware, Knox, I'm
Yeah.
one of the people that I do like Black Clover.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do.
yeah.
It's okay.
But
It's
Nothing wrong with
okay.
that.
You're in a
Nothing wrong
safe
with
space.
that.
no,
You're in a
but
safe space, Axel.
I'm not in a safe space. You don't
Hey,
know.
hey, man. Yeah, I was about to say
Comes a
it ain't
project
that
like
safe
this.
all the time.
No, it's
Hey,
not.
Twitter, back off.
But anyway, well, no, they love me on the Black Clover side of things,
Yeah,
but
it's me.
they might not anymore after the point that I'm about to make. And
Uh-oh.
like, so like that's the thing with I'm gonna make a contrast to Noelle. She is someone who is also, she's got that like adversity to acknowledging her feelings and whatnot. And so she's very tsundere when it comes to Asta. And it plays out the same every time, pretty
Sure.
much. Like, whereas we've had, similar situations in Dandadan, but it doesn't play out the same every time.
It's a very
Like
organic
they
flow
There's growth
of
points.
like
I
growth.
love
yes.
Yeah,
it.
that's what I was gonna say. Like you can see
Um,
that they kind of struggle with certain things that sometimes that you would expect kids to when they're feeling the way that they do for each other. But the way that it kind of develops and goes over into the next stage of that does feel a lot different than what you usually see. They both have like equally good reasons to be reserved with their feelings in any given
Mhm.
moment, and it always feels organic and natural, and like you could
yeah.
actually see a kid coming to these conclusions, you know what I mean, in the real
Yeah.
world.
It's
So
The
super
comment section
wholesome.
right now is exactly why I said this isn't the
stank
same
clover.
thing.
Zay.
Literally,
Hey,
everybody in the
hey,
comments
hey,
was like, "We hate Black Clover. Black Clover
be
sucks." And I'm
nice.
just like, "Oh
Be
my god,
nice.
whatever." Like, but
Um,
again, like I had to make that comparison
Yeah,
because
for
like it
sure.
is so true that like especially with some of the newer series right now, they are tackling female characters better than other people have before them, or
Right.
even ones that are running concurrently in the magazine.
Sure.
So it is
yeah.
nice to see like actual development happening at a good pace. The fact that we are getting the development that we are seeing 30 chapters in from characters across the board. Other than grandma, she was just like, the fuck's an
She's
alien?
consistent.
Yeah.
Aliens
She's like,
don't
nah, I
exist.
hate this.
That
I'm
guy
old,
is not an
set in my
alien. I
ways.
don't care. But like
Yeah.
every other human main character that we've had so far has experienced various aspects of development. And
Right.
it is so refreshing to see these characters be so dynamic rather than static or, like just at a standard kind of line on a graph rather than a curve.
Right.
Like it's been very
Yeah.
like refreshing to see.
Right.
I think the two things that I really like about like the Tsundere, Momo Ayase, Tenka Akakura dynamic is that even when they argue, Momo never hits Okarun.
Oh,
Ever.
sure.
Like
Yeah.
like I love that because
Wow.
it normalizes like a healthy relationship because they're like, oh, we're kids,
Hmm.
stuff. But like that's still toxic.
Yeah,
Like,
and plus
you
it's
need
like,
to teach kids not to do that.
and it's kind
Like,
of trite at this point, right? Like you
yeah,
literally get that in everything. Like just like thinking of some like throwbacks, like Inuyasha, Yu Yu Hakusho, like
yeah,
even like One Piece. Like even though no one's like really romantically involved in One Piece, like Nami be beating the shit out of her crewmates. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
which
And
is
it's just
funny.
like
There's room for it. You know what I
there's a
mean? But like,
slapstick element in which
I mean,
yeah,
why
like
that trope has like carried over, but like
yeah,
when you're focusing
there's a
on like
point to
the
it too.
human aspect of it, it's just
yeah,
like this is not a healthy example for kids, especially when they're doing it. And I like the fact that like you guys are saying, there's growth points. They never fit. Like I feel like if A plot is the supernatural, B plot is going to be kind of that slice of life childhood romance type thing, and that's like the grease between the wheels of each arc.
yeah, for
But
sure.
like when they do the B plot, every time they finish it up and they talk about it, like they literally like, hey, I want to clear the air. Like I loved Okuru's lines like, hey, I don't care if the world misunderstands me, they've been doing that since day one, but you're my friend, I don't want you to misunderstand me at all, so I
Right.
will be completely transparent. Please hear me out. Let's talk. Let's resolve this.
Yeah,
Like
it's a good
I
point.
love that. It's like any tsundere like misunderstanding is always talked about and like broken down.
Yeah,
And
that's
like
a really good
they
point.
have conciliation.
Yeah,
Like
for
they
sure.
always reconcile at the end, and it's not like, oh, say sorry, kiss and make up. It's just like, hey man, like this is what was really happening. My bad. Can we go back to being friends? And they're
Yeah,
like, yeah, okay, yeah, no worries.
yeah,
And they're kind of soft about it, and I like that. They're
for
not
sure.
like hard line stuff. Like
Yeah,
at worst, she'll walk away with him. It's like, hey man, I don't want to talk to you right now, and he'll be like, fair enough. I will give you your space. I will respect the boundaries that you're placing out on me. And then later is like, hey, can we talk now?
yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. Axel,
so
you
I
were trying to get
so
in there on this point too, I believe
sorry.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah, no
so
problem, no
there
problem. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure
I
that
don't want
we
to
didn't.
interrupt him. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
he's on a roll
he's
so
spitting,
much.
he's
I'm just
spitting
like,
for sure. But I wanted to make sure
ah.
before we veered away from that point. I know
Yes.
Axel was trying to get
So
in there.
yeah, so like two things. One on One Piece and then on Dandadan.
Yeah,
On the One Piece side of thing, the whole thing with Nami hitting like the crew members, it makes them human still.
sure.
Because I think people, especially in One Piece, people love and hate power scaling. And like the fact of the matter is, once you get into the power scaling side of things, Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji are absolute monsters. So
Right.
the fact that they have a female crewmate who can still bonk them on the head
Hmm.
and make them listen to her and like be like, "You guys are being idiots,"
Yeah,
like it makes us realize that at the end of the day, they're still human. So
absolutely.
like that ties into that. It gives a reason for it rather than just hitting people to be angry. It's a
Yeah,
comedy side of things. So
right.
I like the fact that like there is, actual dialogue and whatnot in Dandadan. I also I also like the fact that like honestly, after pretty much every arc or whatnot that we've had, it more or less transitions back to Granny's place and they're just eating a meal, and then it's like, okay, here's the wrap up. Now next into the next plot. And like
Yeah,
the meals together are just so funny, but enjoyable every single time. Like
yeah.
the fact that like they're literally arguing and eating and joking at the table. God, the grandma and her
Those
just
table sessions are.
the
I
table
live for those,
sessions.
dude. Like the dinner
Is-
time shit is amazing, bro. Like
Oh
Yeah, like
yeah.
those
even
interactions are so good.
yeah,
Yeah,
It,
even like with the last chapter where it's just like, you're a genius. You keep complimenting me. You're right.
yeah,
You're smart. I like you. My granddaughter is wrong, but you know what you're
yeah.
talking
Granny's
about.
always out for
Ira, I
Aya
believe
saying
in
that's
you. Go
so
get
funny.
her.
Yeah, dude, I was like, when she said that, she was like, yeah, kick her ass or something, or like make sure you exercise this demon of a granddaughter that I have. I'm like, oh shit, that's amazing.
Dude, I love how she just razzes everybody, and she definitely is older. But like, I just think it's really interesting because ISA is always calling her old bag, so of course she's like, no, fuck
Yeah,
around,
fuck
like, get
you.
that rabbit.
Yeah.
You
But at the same
trifling kid,
time,
get outta here.
I feel like Yukinobu gives you just enough of like the actual underlying love between Granny and Ayase, just enough to where you're like not actually asking yourself like, is this granny like chick like not fucking with Ayase? Like she might, it's comedy and she says whatever she says, and she's cold hearted when she needs to be. But then you get, panels like when she goes and hugs her before they go fight,
Mhm.
Turbo Granny, and she's like, "You better come back." You know what I mean? Like, don't fucking die out
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
So you get little heartwarming
It's
moments like that break up the the
I think
animosity.
Boba is I feel like she's a tough love type of character,
Yeah.
and like I think that she's a good example of what tsundere girls could easily grow up into be, and being she very like a very those like very dry, very deadpan women in your life that are just like, oh yeah, I don't know, they'll just talk shit to your face, but they're like, okay, deep down I do like you. Like,
Mhm. I I also think it's incredibly interesting that, like, up to this point, we have not seen her go all out. Like, up
Right.
to this point, we have just been seeing, more often than not, the comedic side of her, but, like, she has that, like, that moment of seriousness or whatnot where it's just
Yeah, I need
like,
more of this.
I'm smart and whatnot, so, like,
Yeah.
it's a very, like, Kisuke Orihara
Oh, sure. Yeah.
vibe, at
mm,
least right now, because it's like, you know that, like, she is a great person and that
right.
she has really strong capabilities, but, like, she's mostly leaning into the comedy side of things so far.
Right.
And, like, they've explained it pretty well for the most part that more often than not, anytime that they've been involved in something, it has been outside of her jurisdiction, right?
Right.
Like, she can't go to certain places, so she can't do anything. So the when they finally get serious
Yeah.
and like they are in her domain, like facing something that is serious for the first time,
It's
I'm
up.
waiting for that
Yeah.
the
She's like,
switch to flip.
and
Yeah.
pa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's probably one of my favorite things too, is like how you introduce the character who's experienced and wildly capable, but then you give them like a hard limiter that means that the main characters kind of have to shine through in areas where she's
Yes.
not effective. I think that the powers
Yes.
the level of understanding that we have inside of the power system lines up well with the stakes at like any given moment. You know what I mean? Because like
Yep.
as Ayase and Okarun get better with their powers, the situation is always just dire enough for that new information that we get to save them, and it kind of goes back and forth like that. It never feels ham-fisted in that area. It keeps things interesting, which is
Mhm.
really important, in the beginning. And then outside of that, everyone else outside of the grandma is like equally capable. Ira, Okarun and Ayase all bring something equally important to the table in any given moment. They're all saving each other all of the time, even though
Mhm.
there's like a very drastic love triangle situation that they're kind of starting to develop inside of the series right now. That's based on Ira's love for Takakura Ken because he saved her that one time, in the Acro Silky arc. It doesn't become formulaic in that way. You know what I mean? Okarun can save Ira can save Ayase can save Okarun, and it kind of goes, in a circle like that where everyone is equally shown to be capable, just like everybody else is. You know what I mean? And then you add that with the fact that the grandma has to be inside of Kamikoshi City, I think is the name of the city or whatever. She has to be there to be effective. And there's always issues that go around outside of that city. So you have to send the main cast there. It just
Yeah.
feels really
Mhm.
good in that way.
I feel bad. I just I I kind of broke this one theory in the chat of like, oh man, have you noticed that all of the yokai have been female and all of the aliens have been male? And I'm just like, yeah, that was the case until the most recent chapter. If the
The dude
underwear
in his
guy
underpants,
is
his
the
Yeah,
tidy
right,
whities
yokai,
of
right.
terror.
that breaks the trend. Like, but
Yeah,
up to this point, like, yes, it has been a thing.
Well,
Which I
that's been in keeping with a lot of myth. Like a lot of mythologizing is like um women tend to be in media and folklore turned into monsters more often, witches, banshees, all that stuff. So that's just kind of a trend on like us socially and how we perceive women being uh terrible and powerful if wronged, that
yeah,
kind of thing.
right.
mm,
Yeah,
but
dude.
I do, and I know this is kind of hopping. I mean, because we're obviously we're talking about arcs and whatnot. But
Yeah,
like I up to this point, it's been very interesting that all of the yokai arcs have had a sad backstory to them. It's been
Yes.
very interesting. It's been it I love those feelings of the tragic villain. And
Right.
like you got a
Yes.
lot of people that are like, "Ah, I hate when they try to like redeem a character, like make them so that like we don't like hate them as much or whatnot." And it's just like, but like
That's
this
really
is the
important too.
reality of a
Yeah.
lot of yokai, especially. Like a
Yeah.
lot of them come from tragic backstories and
Yeah.
whatnot, and then
Regrets.
become myth.
Yeah.
But and that is at least why I also appreciated with the Loch Ness uh monster arc that like we got to finally see something on the alien side of things as
Yes.
well. Like the fact that
Yes.
not all of these aliens are actually evil. Some of
Right.
them have like legitimate reasons why they're unfortunately having to do these things.
Hmm.
Don't get me wrong, the thing with the mantis shrimp guy was freaking crude as hell. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like my child pees and poops blood
Yeah.
all the time and
Yeah.
I have to buy him medicine and blah blah blah. And my wife died from the peeping and pooping disease too. And it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
and then like
I'm
That's
just a
horrible.
widower trying to
it's
save her
right.
son.
Like so, but I like the fact that like we got to see a I mean, I'm saying human aspect to them, but like
Right.
obviously alien yokai, but like this depth to the characters, like that
Right.
makes it more interesting. So I'm very curious to see, and I've got my theories on
Sure.
the latest yokai, and we'll see
Yeah.
what happens with that,
Yeah.
and we'll get to that later once we
Right.
get into like predictions and whatnot. But
Right. Right.
I've enjoyed to this point seeing this depth given to these like unfortunate villains.
Right.
Honestly, is
I
what they
agree.
are. Is are unfortunate villains.
This is an important
Um,
thing for me too, like just inside of fiction, period, because it's like you see a lot, like I don't know, it just makes sense that you know you give that kind of depth to a villain because like you just think about the real world and it's like sure there are definitely horrible, incorrigible, no reason
Spiteful
evil,
people.
spiteful people in the world, but a lot of it the times like once you actually get the story and find out what's going on, whether you agree with it or not, you can see that it to some degree they're trying to do what they believe is the right thing and just
Yeah.
going about
mhm.
it the entirely wrong way because their perception has been warped by some kind of traumatic event or some kind of circumstance that makes them think they have to operate this way. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
very
I can
common.
understand, but I don't have to condone that
Exactly.
kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? And just like talking about the Acro Silky arc, which was like the first time that you really got some pathos for one of the yokai. You know what I
Well,
mean? Like
no,
that.
we did get it. We did
Or
get it with
Turbo
the
Granny. Turbo
crab
Granny.
Yeah,
and
because
the
she's
Yeah,
looking
turtle
out for
Crab
thing.
and
those
Turbo
old
Granny.
little
You're right.
Right,
girls.
You're right.
because
Um,
these girls all
Yes.
died
Yeah.
and their spirits
eh,
merged
Yeah.
into a vengeful spirit.
And that was
And so you
great.
find out, yeah.
Yeah, that was that I completely forgot about that, and that was there. I don't want to say that it was kind of like glossed over or whatever, but it was kind of quick. It was literally just like lines of dialogue basically.
yeah.
But then when you go into the Acro Silky, the end of the
Mhm.
Acro Silky arc, when Ayase is getting that like flashback, you know what I mean, showing the yokais coming to be one, for the acrobatic ghost chick, like that shit was fucking amazing because there was like no dialogue for it. It was literally
It
just
was
like
a
the rest
sad,
of the
silent
chapter.
movie.
It was a sad silent movie, and that's where I felt a lot of Fujimoto Tatsuki inside of that. Like if you think
Yeah.
about like Look Back or something like that, or if you think about
It
the way
made
that
sense
yeah,
Mhm.
that, like, even in the character design, it made sense where it's like, it's the super tall woman with like a red dress, and I was like,
right,
oh, red dress, prostitute, all this other stuff. And like I was like, oh man, like the little clues were there the entire time.
right,
And it's just I like that the ghosts are powered by their regret and like negative emotions, which is like a kind of a classical thing for like how ghosts are formed
hmm,
on Left Business and that stuff, which I like is displayed in Okarun when he just gets super depressed every time he uses Turbo Granny's power. And I'm just like, all right, cool, you're using the power of negativity.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, for sure.
It's like the Eeyore Super Saiyan mode kind of thing.
Right. But no, I think that it's important in a series like Dandadan that introduces the like villainous force in the series on both sides of the spectrum to be like entirely malicious. Like you have like an almost sexual assault scene inside of the Serpoians, you know, like in the very first chapter, and then you go into the yokai where the Turbo Granny is just like this completely ridiculous, like, let me suck your dick, I'll let you suck my tits kind of like evil weird force, you know what I mean? You're not expecting to get pathos or to get depth in this way for these characters. So when it comes and it's that organic and it's that well executed, you're like, holy shit, this series has a lot more going for it than it seems like it does on the surface. So I feel like it's even more important for a series like Dandadan that had a start that it did to give its antagonistic force this kind of depth, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it reminds me of the start of Undead Unluck, where I was just
Right.
like, all right, cool, and then they redeem it and they add depth to it, and I really appreciate that. I kind of like that through the combination of like possession and getting like his hair burnt. Okarun has now gotten kind of like a little bit of a perm,
Yeah.
and it reminds I like seeing hairstyles that aren't often seen outside of shonen main protagonists. Like it's not actively spiky, like it's like not like a Natsu fairy tale haircut.
Right.
It's
What are
not
you
straight
talking
up
about?
like
You don't like
dreads.
perfect points?
You know,
Yu-Gi-Oh
I
type
went through
shit.
my Yu-Gi-Oh phase,
Yeah.
okay? But
Yeah.
like,
The
let's rein it
Yu-Gi-Oh
in.
phase never ends, sir.
Tell them.
Never
Yeah, I
ends.
play Magic the Gathering now. It never
Hey,
ends.
let's go. You want to know what? Yeah, I'm on Mellow side now again.
No, seriously. But I
Fuck
like that his
Yu-Gi-Oh. No,
hair
I'm
is like
kidding.
kind of permed up. It reminds me of this one moment where there's a book called American Born Chinese.
Love that book.
And it's about a guy who like perms his hair because he doesn't want to have the hair he has. And I do like that it adds texture and depth to his character, because like when he first starts out he is like a little bowl cut looking dweeb, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, thank god he got a better haircut. He looks
Yeah.
pretty fly, and it's like,
Yeah.
all right, the perm works for him.
Yeah, for
Like they
sure.
got style. I think that like I love the whole like horror movie style aesthetics, like giant crabs and like giant bugs are always in there for like, oh
Yes.
no, this evil mad scientist hit him with a giganto ray, and now they're just
Yeah.
rampaging through town. I was like, yeah, I remember this is like, I think Dandadan has a very nostalgic feel to it, and I really
Yeah.
appreciate that they're able to take all those things that are kind of like almost like subsurface memories from like your childhood, and just wrap it up and then like ball it up and then create this whole thing out of it. And even like their title, Dandadan, it sounds like those old like movies, like those like Dagateki Police, where they're like, and here's the plot twist, dun dun dun.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like I
yeah.
love that. It's so cheeky.
It's an onomatopoeia almost inside of the title, you know what I mean? Like it makes you think like da-dum, you know what I mean?
It's very
Like
suspenseful, but also
yeah,
goofy. I dig that they are managed to like do this very fine balancing act
yeah.
that like cycles between the two constantly.
Yes.
Um,
That was well said.
Man, and I like that each character is a very genre aware,
Yeah.
but each of the kids are different genres. So like
Yeah.
Ira is just like, I'm Sailor Moon, kind of like I was the beautiful chosen one. You know, she's like the opposite of Voltaire, where Voltaire says, it is a human mistake to equate beauty with goodness, and she's like, no, I'm good because I'm beautiful.
Beautiful.
Right.
No, I'm the beautiful magical girl, and like Momo is definitely kind of like the tsundere exorcist genre, and then Okarun is just like, I'm the kind of like a little bit like of kind of like a beta male occult fanatic, and it's just like,
Yeah.
all right, I like that they're all kind of like
Very
they know what
colorful,
they're talking.
very
Yeah.
colorful personalities, very different. When Ira was first introduced, obviously I was like, dude, this chick is a bitch. Like
She was mean.
she sucked, dude. You know what I mean? And she sucked for like a while, you know what I mean? And then when
She
we go
sucked for a
into
lot
like
of reasons.
when we go into like the testicle retrieval arc, you know what I mean? And we
The
get
testicle retrieval saga.
yeah,
It's ongoing.
yeah, right. Oh,
It's ongoing.
sure, yeah, absolutely. But like once we first started going into that, I was like, okay, here's like, you know, a little bit of an obstacle, and it's, you know, a familiar one. So like, how are they really going to deal with it? And then Acro Silky comes out, swallows her up, they blow her up, and then go out. And then when you get the information that she died, I was like, holy shit. And then she's dead for like a while. And I'm like, oh my God, is she actually just going to be dead after this? I was
That
like,
was
well,
stakes.
yeah, I
It
was like,
shook
well,
me.
yeah, I was like, it's Dandadan, you know what I mean? So like, you really don't know, you know, and then until you get the information, you know, that kind of goes into the power system, you know, that lets you know that you can link, you know, auras together to kind of like save her. Up until you got that information, I was sitting there going like, damn, so this is that kind of series this is going to be, bro. Like, I thought this was going to be one of the main characters, and she ended up being one. But like, the subversion inside of that situation was kind of crazy for me when I was first reading it.
They definitely played with our expectations
Absolutely.
doing that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I love that. Also, the really slick, like, sneaky part where they're like, Turbo Granny is inside the Maneki Neko toy.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm the Maneki Neko, bitch, now. I can summon luck. Probability, I'm here for the Deus Ex Machina. Don't you tell those fucking kids I got a rep to have.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, bro.
She only tells that when the kids are all in Acro Silky's stomach, and she's like,
Yes.
you swallowed some of your hair. That kid has a lighter.
Yes.
Shit.
Yeah.
Boom. Like, I loved that. I was like, all right. I like
Yeah,
that. I like that. And I also like that in Turbo Granny being in the Maneki Neko, Grandma Ayase has a age peer, because I liked the moments when they're like doing the slice of life section. They're like, home base time, let's chill, let's be human.
Yeah.
And I like that they're like bonding over like Bakatono comedy videos. And
Yeah,
they're just like cracking
dying
up.
laughing on the floor and shit. Like, I love
Yeah.
those panels where it shows
I
those
love it.
kind
They're
of
like,
slice of life
grandma got a
interactions.
friend.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Two old ladies
I-
talking shit.
Yes.
So I did want to say with stakes,
Yeah.
before that gets glossed over too much.
For sure.
Like,
For sure.
because stakes aren't always death. I also like the fact that with, you know, after they defeated Nessie and whatnot, like, they were all of a sudden back in the high school. They were all naked in
Naked.
the
Oh,
hallways. And that in
my
itself,
God.
that in itself is stakes.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
all of a sudden,
Social
they're
suicide.
back, right? But like, it was that kind of thing where it also presented further stakes between the three of them,
In
where
their
Ira
everyday
could have
lives. Yeah.
yes, Ira could have absolutely destroyed Momo and what credibility she had left had she decided to lean into, you know, this persona that she had already built, and
What's the
decided
safe
against
option?
that.
Right.
Like, Okarun as well is this freaking nerd who
Yeah.
most people don't
He's a
like, and all of a
nobody.
sudden he's seen naked in the hallway, like,
Yeah.
and he is naked with these two girls. Like, that is stakes.
Yeah.
Like,
That are
that
considered
was one of those
attractive,
things
yeah.
where it was great, where like they didn't all of a sudden just go back and like everything was back to normal.
Right.
No, like they were immediately sent back, and like all of a sudden, like, what state they were in is now their state outside of this space
Yeah.
that they just existed in. So
And
like,
it's
I
easy
think that's
to-
fantastic.
It is fantastic, and it's easy to kind of you know, for that kind of stuff to go missed, you know what I mean? Because like,
Yes.
you have like global domination plot stakes, you like in the foreground, you know what I mean? But when you go into like the psychological day-to-day stakes of like kids in high school, you know what I mean, that will potentially affect how they operate in the world-saving plots, you know what I mean? And it's
Yes.
shown that it has, you know what I mean? How people perceive them in school, even though we know as adults that are, you know, much older than them, that like high school shit does not fucking matter. They don't know that yet, you know what I mean? And so they're trying to come into their own while they're trying to save the world and exist as a regular person at the same time. So when you introduce stakes for their day-to-day lives in that way, it can, you know, kind of go over, you know, people's heads, or, you know, even as something that's recognizable as stakes. But you're totally right, Axel.
Yeah.
I do like it because, like, as kids, they are literally fighting for what they perceive as their lives. Because Okarun's just like, I've lived my life so lonely. I've been trying to reach out to aliens because maybe they'll take me. And like, he does almost anything he can to protect Momo because she is his first friend.
Right.
So like, I love that, like, he's like, I have something, oh god, there's like Queens of the Stone Age thing. It's like, give me something good to die for, to make
Yeah.
it beautiful to live kind of thing. And I like that he has a personal stake in that. And then Momo is just like, hey, this guy did not make fun of me for anything. He's just like, he's a really solid dude. Like,
Yeah.
all right, cool. And so I like the mutual respect that they're building for each other for outsiders.
Yeah.
And then like Ira is like struggling with how do I want my life to be? Like the life that I'm constructing, what do I actually want? And she's like, and it's that moment like, who am I in the dark when no one's around at night when I'm trying to sleep? Like, who am I? Am I going to be okay with this? And she makes that clutch moment where she's like, hey, I was the one that spread rumors about Momo. Just leave her alone. Please? Right. Cool. Yeah. And like that's, she chooses social suicide in a sense to retain integrity.
Yes.
And she doesn't really know that like Momo and Okarun and Akrosoki brought her back to life. Like they haven't talked to her about that at all. She's just like, you know what, you saved my life. And they're like, you have no idea.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I wanted to quick interject because I double checked on this and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So Ricardo Holters in the comments said that Dandadan in Hindi translates to punishment.
Just saw that.
I just did a Google Translate myself and like detect language. That's what came up with.
That's really cool.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
If that is the case, like,
Yeah.
and how that will play out in the story, if anything.
If it's not already shown in some way, that
yes.
I think that there is a level of karma influenced in the series because like the aliens that show like lack of remorse towards things, they often get just absolutely destroyed. But the aliens that do show remorse and they're like, hey, I've done some bad things, but like you showed me mercy, I can't hurt you. Like that's the thing. There's karmic things, and like the idea, like the Maneki Neko with the fortune, with the idea like these kids are growing, and every time they learn to accept something about themselves, they seem to get stronger. So like that is like good karma building up, or like the idea of like I've done terrible things, and I need to atone for them. Akrosoki, gives up her aura and chooses non-existence. She removes herself from the karmic wheel, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then like like the baboon the can baboon. He's just he's a huge douche. He's a literal bro, like a terrible person, and he's just mocking and arrogant, and he gets smoked because of it, like instantly.
Yes.
So like I do think that there is kind of like an ironic karmic scale weaved throughout the series, and I think might go into it because like we talk about like the aliens are being held back because the Earth is haunted. Like
that like was the coolest thing. That was the coolest information to get.
I love that so much.
It's so easy. I feel like inside of like ghosts and aliens, especially this early in the series, we're coming up on 30 chapters here. Yukinobu could have easily kept this antagonistic force, relatively esoteric for a long time, you know what I mean? But us getting the exposition of exactly what their motivations are, why they're doing what they're doing, and having it make sense with the earthbound spirits that are kind of there to protect, which adds a level of sympathy and whatnot for them, and then having the aliens be like the actual real bad guys of the story, but then also having sympathetic aliens at the same time. Like now I just have a better understanding, or at least I think I have a better understanding of how the future of the story will go, especially because we have like the Spanish boxer alien that like needs milk for his kid. Like we're probably going to get like a lot more aliens that kind of help the protagonist, a lot more spirits that help the protagonist, and then enemies on both sides as well. So it's going to get really crazy in that way now that we have this information, I want to say.
I can't wait till they do like a fight scene where it's like Marvel versus Capcom and they beam in an ally for a super attack and they're like, Chiquito, go! Like, I want to see that happen so badly. But like the Earth reveal made me think of there's that meme where it's just like, it's like, astronauts, how is the moon? Moon's haunted. What? Clock's pistol gets back into the rocket. Moon's haunted. I love that. It makes a lot of sense to me. One thing, so back to the Ultraman thing, this is a hard loop, but like the Serpoians in there is called I think it's in Ultraman X. There is a kidnapping syndicate, and here's a quote. The plan was to collect samples of your cutest girls before that happened. It may not look that way, but I'm very fond of you humans.
Hey
And that
yo.
is the creature, that is the bad guy that is the Serpoians are based off
Oh
of. So
my
that's a thing.
god.
And they have like these big old lips, and one of their abilities in one of the various movies was that they could like anesthetize you with a
Mhm.
kiss, like paralyze you. And so
Yeah.
it's interesting that their psychic, subduing of their targets was a little reminiscent of that. And I just like that they're just borrowing little bits of like
Hell yeah.
whatever they feel like and making it a whole new thing. Because I like, oh, was it? Because we talk about archetype a lot in our series that
Mhm.
we read, how really good authors in manga are good at recognizing archetype, understanding convention, and through that understanding able to play around it and subvert it in a way that is innovative and feels organic and fresh. And that's a good way to like push art forward.
Yeah.
So I like how Dandadan has been handling things
Hell yeah.
really well. um
Yeah, dude.
I also like that they turned like Nessie's laser beam. It was just compressed water that it was drawing
Yes.
through its neck, and it's like, oh yes, it's not just technology; it's
Yeah.
like biology. I like that. It's a small distinction, but I
Yeah.
like the nuance that's involved with
I
that.
loved that arc because like it gave us, more information on how, the aliens or the Serpoans specifically kind of operate inside of their own area of power, you know what I mean? So you have it showed the Spanish alien boxer robot, let us know what his capabilities were, let us know what his weaknesses were. Nessie had, like you were saying, the compressed water cannon, and then it let us know the hard limits on that. It needs to take in more water before it can fire. They can exploit that time, you know what I mean, to kind of get a leg up. And then you also have the Serpoians and their like, psychokinesis barrier, you know what I mean? Like that seemed OP as fuck, but then it let us know like we can't go inside of the barrier though. So it gives you stakes, it gives you, a reason to worry for the main cast because of these powers. We don't entirely understand them yet. And then as we're learning more about them, the main characters are learning at the same time, obviously, and then they find ways to exploit those weaknesses on the fly. So it just shows capability all around for everyone and allows for, an uncertainty throughout the composition of the chapter, so where we're constantly wondering what's going to happen next and can't really guess it, and we're not supposed to be able to at this point in the story. So the delivery on how you show that escalation and de-escalation is really important, and that goes back to what I was saying about how well this creator understands the medium and the demographic that he's operating inside of. So top marks in that area as well.
Especially for
It,
debut.
Yeah,
I'm
dude,
I
still
think
especially
blown
for
away
a
it's
over and over
debut.
again by that.
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's interesting, like mentioning this too, because as weird as it sounds, like the upcoming fight slash arc is presenting itself as like the first one with potentially the biggest stakes to it, because
It's
this
killed dudes.
yokai, yes, this yokai has killed like 5 out of 8 exorcists that have come
Yes.
to exercise
It's
it so
killed
far.
2/3 of any amount of exorcists it's
Yes.
come into contact
And
with.
what, regardless of what level, that these exorcists actually were in comparison to Momo or Granny Seiko, like there is legitimate threats to this yokai. And on top of that, again, it's another one that's outside of Granny's domain, so she can't go take care of this.
Hmm.
So it's really presenting itself to be like, holy crap, this yokai in his tidy whities
Yeah.
is going to be their strongest enemy yet. Which again,
Right.
like I said at the very beginning, it's Gantz vibes.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is
for sure.
absolutely Gantz vibes of like these things that you would not expect being as dangerous as they are or as weird looking as they are super dangerous.
Yes.
Like
Mhm.
whether or not more people die from this, who knows? The fact of the matter is, though, people have already died.
Right.
Like,
Mhm.
what
there is
capable
actual
exorcists,
danger.
you know what I mean? So now you're thinking of like, how is this going to affect Granny Seiko? And she just is nonchalant, like doesn't fucking care.
I
So
can't deal with this.
yeah, like or she
Not within
says
my
I
realm.
can't
I'm
deal
not
with
gonna
it.
deal with it.
Like who knows? She probably will. And when it does come down to it, who knows? Maybe this is the arc. I mean, now that we're kind of like segueing into it, let's just talk about future theory and predictions. I
Oh
guess
yeah.
as like the final segment of this
Yes.
conversation. So
Yes.
yeah, just
So
starting with
I
that.
have a theory.
Absolutely, and I can't wait to hear it. Real quick before
So
you get into that, I just want to say like if this might be the first time that we see Granny go all out in the series is against this
she
particular
can't.
yokai. Wait, she
She
can't fight this
can't.
one?
No,
It's
it's not
way
in
out
the
of her
domain.
jurisdiction.
We already
Oh
said
right,
this.
right. But like
Yeah,
what?
it's
Like
out of
there's no
Gamma
possibility that it. Oh yeah, she has to send
No.
them to him. Oh yeah, that's right. She's sending them to him
Yes.
Yeah.
so that she can buy all of their clothes. Okay, I completely forgot
Yeah,
about
she's
I was
willing
thinking
to
of the
take. Yeah.
possibility that it could come into her area for whatever reason.
Why would it?
Um.
It wouldn't need to.
Right, it wouldn't
Like,
need
I
to.
mean,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the thing is with yokai, it and exorcists for that matter, they're all about their domains.
Right.
Like they will do anything in their power to stay in their
Yeah, you're
domains,
totally right.
bring
Mhm.
people into their domains, and or keep people out of their
Yeah,
domains.
this
That's
is
all what it
probably
is.
going to
Which
be the most sophisticated domain that they're going to be fighting it, and like this ghost is going to have its home ground advantage
Mhm.
because Gigi talks about it. It's like I went to a house and every now and again I would look at like part of the furniture, the toilet, the couch, whatever, and they would be different. So there's an overlap of the house and the ghost's house on
Right,
top of the
right.
building. So
Right.
I
Mhm.
really gonna struggle against an environmental opponent.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think, and like I was leaning into this theory in one of our servers. I can't remember which one. I think it might have been HGS. Could have been the Project Manga one, maybe the Union one. I don't know.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
all blend together after a while, well,
Right. Yeah.
except for HGS.
Yeah.
But like it was one of those things where it's just like I'm wondering to myself, could this be the first time that the yokai is using the humans for its plot? Like
Mm.
could this underwear yokai be using Gigi to bring other people in
Into his domain.
so it can
Yeah.
defeat them or whatnot? And whether or not this is a a willing or non-willing
Yeah.
part on Gigi's part of bringing people in. Like I I want it to be one of these things where it's just like he's either being forced against his will, or maybe it is his will to do so,
Yeah.
just because it would be an interesting deviation from what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Not that I necessarily think it will be. I
Yeah.
think they might play it more safe.
I think
But
that's super interesting. I have a question though, because it's like, okay, so like if he was being directly influenced by, the like vengeful spirit or the yokai, for that he's been talking about since his introduction, wouldn't Ayase or even Granny Seiko be able to see that influence inside of his aura?
I mean,
I think
it's
it's more of
possible,
like coercion.
but like
if it's in that vein,
right.
it'd
Yeah,
be
if it's
coercion.
coercion,
like,
then
hey,
yeah.
if you want to
That's-
save your
that's what I'm
parents,
saying.
Mhm.
if you want to save your
Yes.
parents, bring me more people.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the fact of the
Stronger
matter is,
exorcists.
Yeah.
yes, the fact of the matter is he's still alive. Like all these other exorcists and whatnot have died up to this point, so why has he been kept alive? Kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
So like it could be one of these things where it's a coercion thing, or he's being forced against his will to do this, or maybe at the same time he could just be an unknowing participant
Right.
in this
Unwitting
as well.
pawn.
Oh, that and maybe
Um,
the yokai is just super big brain. Like you're clearly, I'm going to leave you as the last survivor. You're clearly going to go out and try to get help from elsewhere, and you're
Yes.
going
Yes.
to bring that help over
Yes.
here, and then I'm going to
Like-
fuck him
like
up.
when,
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he spared him because he's like, you're a kid. What are you gonna do? You're gonna find an authority figure.
Yeah.
And what's the authority on spirits? Exorcists.
Right.
What am I doing? Killing them and absorbing
Yep.
their power.
Right,
I don't want
right.
to leave my home base. I'm invincible here, but I need a
Yep.
survivor to go fetch me reinforcements so I
Right.
can get stronger and stronger.
Yes.
It's like when snipers will shoot a guy but won't kill a guy, so that people will go to save them can shoot more dudes.
Oh shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, the design of this yokai is supposed to be a subversion of expectations.
Hmm.
Like this is supposed to be one of these things where it's just like how does this guy go about killing these people. You wouldn't necessarily think, oh, this guy, this tall guy in his tidy whities and a scrunched up face is this monster of an opponent. So I'm just very excited for it.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
it's one of those things where it's just like, how many layers are there to this yokai that we are going to be experiencing? Because again, all we've seen so far is that one panel and then the explanation of what has happened since.
Right.
Seriously, that one panel was enough to terrify me. I was like, "Oh God, you are a spooky motherfucker."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we all like kind of
Ah.
inside of the same like realm of idea that like if Gigi is going to be, you know, a recurring character, which I'm totally down for, real quick as like a side thing.
He probably will be.
I love how like they're introducing like a potential second love triangle in the series, right? Because you have Ayase, you know, and Ira that have feelings for, you know, Okarun, which complicates things inside of their relationships. But now you also have this Gigi person, and now it's an Okarun Gigi, all kind of going for, you
I
know,
think
Ayase. So it
too.
reminds me of like Inuyasha double love triangle from like Kikyo, Kagome,
Yeah.
Inuyasha, and then Inuyasha, Kagome, Koga, you know what I mean? So that was really cool. But anyway, the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying though, before I tangented off there, is like, are we all kind of inside of the same vein that once they defeat this particular yokai, Gigi will get the powers of it for some reason?
I wonder about that. Like he
Yeah.
might get cursed by it, and
Right.
so he develops his own powers based on that.
Right, right.
And they might use Okarun's golden ball to kind of stabilize his power if
Oh,
it's
wow.
like, you know, it's like if they kill him and it's like a vengeful parting curse. It's like, "Oh, you killed me. I'm going to curse you to death." And they're like, "Hey, we need," he's like, "Oh no, I'm withering because I'm like slowly draining my aura." And they're like, well, Okarun's like, "Hey man, I almost gave my dick to an alien because he gave me a sob story. I will give you my one testicle, my
Yeah.
one golden ball to keep you alive until we figure this out and I get
Yeah.
the other balls."
I really
And
don't
they're like,
need both right now, at least. You know what I mean?
I'm
what
not
if
using
Gigi
anything.
Yeah.
What if Gigi is able to save himself though by separating his balls from his body?
Well, look at that. There we go. Oh,
Yeah,
hey.
now he has silver balls, and then
Yeah.
we have Gintoki and Gintoki
Yeah.
and
Like
no, it'd be
either
kind of funny.
way, either way, he is at this level because of how much he's been affected that he can see it now. We know
Right.
that much at least.
Right.
Which I mean, it happened with Ira because she came into contact with one of the golden balls. Whether
Right.
or not Gigi did, who knows? Like it is also very possible that I don't know, maybe even this yokai somehow got its hands onto one of the golden balls, and that's why it's gotten as powerful as it has.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd be all for the fact that like maybe one of the golden balls isn't an influence in this, and like this is all just
I
like
think it
Yeah.
won't
just
be.
really powerful ghost that is just, it's just a coincidence that this happened after you lost your balls. Like
Right.
who
Yeah.
knows?
I feel like that's the case, and then I also think that there is going to be an introduction of a third party antagonistic force on the yokai side,
Mm.
because we've had an expansion of like the alien forces in our most recent like Nessie arc as kind of like the AB alternating between aliens and boogeymen.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think it's time for the boogeyman to get an expansion and have like there's gonna be kind of like dark occultists that will be like, yeah, no, we are enhancing certain spirits. We're, you know, and then, you know, they collect them like possession style Pokemon or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And they're doing that. And so I feel like they're the ones that are amplifying something. Like that's my theory for the future. I feel like that's gonna happen. And I wonder what the Tidy Whitey Terror is gonna be like. I
Yeah,
feel
like
like
I
he's
wonder
gonna
what
be
kind of power
he's
set
gonna
he's gonna have. Like, what
I
does
feel
he
like
do
he's
to
going
fight
to
you?
be like a Slender Man style strangler,
Oh,
where it's
sure.
like the classic horror movie where noodly arms reach through the windows or beneath the couch cushions
Yeah.
or through the sink tap, you know, that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
It would be cool to have like a more, because I'm like trying to think like Dandadan's really good at not kind of like repeating the same gag, right? So far, you know what I mean? So if you have Okarun on the speed, you know, and momentum side of things, and then you have Ayase on like the crowd control, you know, snare, envelop, you know, and just like psionic push kind of side of things, and then you have, you know, Ira on the acrobat, you know, like gymnast, like martial arts side of things, then like what would Gigi, or what would this yokai's power set, if it is going, because I think that based on the history of the series and just like how it's kind of progressed so far from Ira to Gigi, I'm pretty confident that Gigi will get, if he is going to be a recurring, a regular character, I think that by the end of this situation, he probably will inherit the abilities of this ghost that's been tormenting him for however long. There's an emotional link there. There's a traumatic link there. There's like, I could totally see them giving more exposition later on, the yokai and Gigi, that makes it make more sense that they would eventually, you know, come together after the defeat. So like, I'm just wondering like, what else is there inside of their dynamic that's missing? You know what I mean? Stealth, you know, I don't know, possession, like from, you know, Gigi to another person, you know what I mean? After, this is all after the defeat of the yokai and he gets the powers, assumingly, you know what I mean? Like, what would his power set be? Can he possess others? Can he go in and influence others, like, you know, psychologically or something like that? Poltergeist
would be really
type shit would be
because
cool.
the building's a house,
Right.
just tossed around furniture, rearranging rooms, shuffling rooms, a la
Right.
Mugen Train kind of
Oh,
thing.
there we go. There we go.
I imagine something like that. But that would be kind of really cool. With the
I just
double
want to
love
see
triangles.
him.
Sorry.
Sorry. No, I was
With the-
sorry to interrupt. I just want to.
Yeah.
I just want to
Go
see him like. I want to see him transform and just have the tidy whiteys,
Like
just have like a
Superman,
giant
tidy whitey?
smile, just like a giant like creepy smile on his face, because like especially with the personality turns that we've gotten so
Yeah.
far,
Yeah.
with Okarun being depressed and Ira just going full on into honorable samurai mode. Like,
Yeah.
I want to see like this guy like just go just further into the goofy side.
Yeah.
But I really do like the idea of like the room shuffling, if that is in fact what it is.
Any
Right.
haunted house deserves a good room shuffle.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
flying
Yes.
furniture deserves it.
It's hard for me to think of potential possibilities for the future of Dandadan, especially this early, because like, man, it's like things can just happen so randomly in Dandadan still, you know what I mean? Like some
Yep.
people might complain about that and think and
Right.
and like not like that. I personally think it adds to the charm of the series personally. I like that.
I think it's very charming.
Yeah,
very
but it
cute
makes it
quality.
hard to like think like based on the history of the series what
Yeah.
could happen in the future, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So
It's
I wasn't expecting a can-based zombie
yeah, what the
threat.
fuck?
Like that
I mean,
was like
How could
the
you
artist
predict that?
is so good at subverting character tropes
Yeah.
that I'm like, I genuinely can't call this one sometimes. And I want to tie in onto the double love triangle before I forget.
Yes.
Ira and Gigi have very similar colored hair, as opposed to
Oh,
Momo
shit.
and Okarun have very similar colored hair, and
That's
they're both very similar. I feel like Gigi is going to be kind of like the male equivalent, male foil for Ira.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be that little bit of like love triangle stuff, and then eventually those two pairs are going to settle on each other and be like, you know, you're more my speed, you know, these people are obviously set on the people that they're like, and I see your redeeming qualities, and maybe we'll go on like a weird double date or something like that.
Something like that.
Love
it.
Like a really awkward double date for adolescents. It'll be great.
Yeah.
It'll be great. It'll be super cringe.
So
yeah, Axel, yeah.
I would also be interested, because I know there's a lot of stuff going on with the aliens and the yokai, and the whole theory that the yokai are protecting the planet from the aliens.
Keep going. I'm
whether
listening.
that
I'm
is
just gonna
whether
refill
that
my
is
water real quick.
sure, whether that is knowingly or unknowingly, like I'm very curious to see whether or not the aliens at some point are able to actually get a human subject and use them to replicate the yokai possession effect on the kids, but with aliens.
Oh,
I want to see if
that'd be
that's
good.
possible.
Like
Because obviously,
mind
like
transference, or
That'd be tight.
something, whether they like, because
super
obviously
tight.
we've been able to see the aliens fuse together, but what if they're able to replicate that effect with the humans, and whether then or not the human is still able to be good or used for as a force of evil. Like, and I'm not opposed to there being a bad yokai group,
Right.
whether they are yokai or humans and their involvement with them. I'm still also very interested to see what kind of hierarchy there is with
Yes.
exorcists. Like,
Yes.
is Granny some weird exception to the rule? Is she part of some kind of league, a la like Phantom Seer
Yeah.
with like,
Is she
Iori's
a rogue
sister?
agent?
Great
Is she a
questions.
rogue agent? Like, and I'm not opposed to the semi lack of structure that we've had so far. Like, it's been very to go into, the Super Sentai Kamen Rider Ultraman side of things,
Mhm.
very Monster of the Week esque format so far,
Mhm.
of dealing with one monster, one monster, one monster, one monster, rather than having like a necessarily like an overarching plot or reason, other than just freaking getting Okarun's balls back
Yeah.
at this point.
Well,
Like
even
that
inside of
that
the
that
aliens
is the
too.
plot.
In the aliens too, Axel, like what like are we gonna get a hierarchical, grid of where the aliens fit in the bigger picture? Because the Serpoians are
Yes.
the only ones that have kind of come back multiple times now. Right.
Right. And
So, but are they
so
working for
they're
someone else? Are they the big bad? You know what I mean? Like
sure.
that's a
Are
question
they just
too.
the middlemen?
They are
Yeah.
probably the middlemen. I mean, it's very possible, again, in a format similar to Ultraman, Super Sentai, Kamen Rider. It's very possible that they are like the mid-level boss or
Mhm.
managers. You've got one step above that and a step above that, because again, the way that they talk with other aliens was in a business
Right.
format.
Right.
Like, the
Yeah.
fact of the matter was they were involved in a business. That's why they involved the mantis shrimp alien and Nessie in like the plot, and saying, "Oh, we're deducting this from your pay. We're deducting this from your pay."
Yeah,
Like,
Oh,
you're
all
dude.
right.
temps.
So
Oh.
what is this pay structure like, and what is this like
Who's at
with
the
this
top of it?
alien society?
Who has all the
Exactly.
capital?
Yeah, if we start
Yes.
And
going
I
into
think
like
I think we're waiting
politics
for
inside of
the
aliens, that's going to be insane.
lizard people. I'm
Oh.
waiting for the reptoids, like the British royal family or secretly reptile people. Like, I want to see reptile aliens and have a pseudo possession where they have, fake skins, and they're like, I want to do that doppelganger thing. It's like, I'm the real Momo. No, I'm the real Momo, and they use technology to mimic Momo's abilities, and then they have to like figure out which one's the real one, and then maybe like uh Okarun says some like really romantic shit. The reptile isn't affected, and then the real Momo like blushes, and they're like,
Mhm.
"Ha, gotcha!" And then, like, I could see that
Hmm.
happening,
Yeah.
but I do want to see like, because of like the idea of like they have this seemingly like capitalist alien structure.
Mhm.
I think that the reptoids would be a perfect fit for being the people like, we control the background, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of interested in seeing if the aliens will be able to develop a sort of Ghostbusters technology and like trap them inside batteries.
Ooh,
I think
okay.
it all
Just
depends on who or what they're able to
get a
get
hold
as
of.
specimens. And like, it's one of those things where it's bound to happen eventually.
Oh
Like, it's
wow,
like
no,
they
Mello
can't.
just snapped. Cause like what if hold on, wait a minute, dude, because aliens and ghosts, technology versus like spiritual, like metaphysical stuff. Like there's totally gonna be a character in the series who is like Okarun, but like on steroids, and is just like super scientific, has technology that can fight yokai. You know what I mean? Like in a similar vein to Ghostbusters. You know what I mean? Or
Mhm.
like vice versa in some kind of capacity. That would be so cool if like everybody that like ends up fighting in this series wasn't just someone who was possessed or influenced by ghost powers. You know what I mean? Like adding a
There's definitely going to
scientific
be like a
element there would
Witcher
be
style
insane.
character.
Yeah, or like a regular
Um,
human that doesn't have any powers that has somehow found a way to tap into something that can allow him to fight
yeah,
yokai.
talismans, holy
Yeah, shit
water,
like that. That
silver
would be
powder.
so cold.
I mean, so the talisman, silver powder, and what that would still kind of lend into the exorcism side of things,
Sure,
though, to
sure.
a
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, and
I want to see my Batman
as
exorcist.
great as that would be, like, I just question, want do I want that? Because it has been this battle of yokai versus aliens. Do I really want this third force to be a part of it? Like,
The more
I
the
don't know that I
merrier, in my
do. Like,
opinion.
and I
Battle
get that, but like at the
Royale.
Yeah.
same time, do I like I don't necessarily want there to be so much going on that certain stuff is lost or not as developed as it
That's
could
fair.
Oh,
be
sure. Yeah,
because of that.
absolutely. That
And
is a
I'm
good
gonna
fear.
bring up
Want to
Gantz
ignore
again.
Yeah.
I'm
ties.
gonna
Yeah.
bring up Gantz
Sure.
again
Very
because
sprawling.
Gantz was just like, all right, what if we introduced psychics and vampires for whatever reason and incorporate them into the story and then
Never really follow up.
never do
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Like
No,
I
that's
it
a
was
good fear to
A
have.
combination of both your ideas.
Okay.
With The Exorcist from Knox and like tightening of like loose threads for Axel, I think that the aliens are going to pose as humans and hire an exorcist and say, these kids are possessed by yokai and we need you to get rid of them.
Oh, okay. I was more on the side of like Ghostbusters type technology from a human
Mhm.
element. You know what I mean? Because you brought up Ghostbusters, so I was like, well, then yeah, like
I think that
a
would
kind of
be
Okarun
further.
style character that looked into it a lot more than Okarun ever did. Older, has access to more money, and actually started developing technology that can deal with spirits. You know what I mean? Like because like if you run into a
uh,
spirit item, then now or if you run into a yokai specifically, now you can see them. So that can happen to someone without them being possessed or cursed by one.
it
And
would
now,
fit
yeah,
sorry, it would fit into a mentor type character.
right,
Because that's the
right.
thing is that we have a mentor type character for the yokai side of things. We do not have a mentor type character for the alien side of
Right,
things. So
right.
that could work for that.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
again, like in the case that like there are more alien things that happen, like they're really like they have to spitball pretty much at this point. Like yes, they're going off of Okarun's knowledge to an extent, but like they don't have that same level of expertise that they do on the side of things
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Granny Seiko
Yes.
or even Turbo Granny in The Cat.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, they
those are
have
both two mentor type characters where we don't have that on the alien side of
yeah,
things.
you have a
Yep.
kid with internet access and a lot of free time. Like that's all
Yeah.
you got going right now.
Yeah.
And that's powerful in and of itself,
Oh
but
man, yeah, with enough prep time, Batman can blah blah blah.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, we are kind of like coming up on like the hour and a half point of the conversation. So I don't know if there's any kind of like final thoughts that you want to throw out there. I feel like if we start talking too much more about theories, it could go on for 3 hours. You know what I mean? Just like
Don't
to
tempt
run
me.
through.
Don't tempt me.
So I don't know. Like
Do
it's
it.
like for me, like I love this. I love this series as a rookie of the year. I think I agree with you, Axel. There isn't anything that it's doing wrong to me yet. You know what I mean? I'm loving every single moment
no.
of every single thing that it's doing. So I don't really have too much on the final thoughts that, that hasn't already really been said already. But yeah, go ahead, you guys. Let us know kind of last things you want to say about the series before we close it off.
This series tickles a lot of my sweet spots. I'm a sucker for slice of life romances. I'm a sucker for sci-fi and absolute horror. This balances a lot of the seriousness and silliness very well. Um, Excellent series. I highly recommend it. Please give it a chance. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Which I think for anyone that we have in our audience,
They
are
either have
all
read it or
ones
don't
that
care about spoilers. And if they don't care about
Yes.
spoilers and haven't read it, we've told them like the entire series now at this
Ab-
point. But still, though,
absolutely.
go read it if you
Honestly,
haven't.
the delivery is worth it. Like
Yeah.
even know it, like rereading it for me, I knew everything that was gonna happen, and by rereading it, I was still like really moved and blown away. And I think
Yes.
that having taken time to allow it for like 2 volumes and stuff, and getting almost 30 chapters, reading it as like a block
Yeah.
is much more satisfying. This is definitely a series that you want to reread after a few chapters keep coming in.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Axel.
I'm gonna take this as a moment, as a soapbox for manga plus in general.
Yeah.
Because I think this is just further proof that more people need to take note of what is happening in manga plus because it continues to churn out some absolute standout successes. Like I said, we've had at least currently we've got Spy X Family, we've got Kaiju number 8, and we've got Dandadan filling out this trio of high selling series that are running in manga plus. But on top of that, there are other ones that we get in the States that are really good, from various new and old authors covering various different genres. I will admit there's a lot of romance stuff going on right now for the
Sure.
English stuff
Yeah.
that we are getting in Manga Plus, but it's one of these things where it's just like I want more people to look into what Jump Plus covers,
Yes.
because there are so many great series that we get either weekly or every other week, and it's fantastic. Now, I will admit that I have not read everything that is currently going on in Jump Plus and or the things that have finished
Yeah.
their runs in Jump Plus. But I have been absolutely enjoying the things that I have been reading. I've been enjoying Ran Kamanohashi from the creator of Katekyo Hitman Reborn.
Nice.
I have loved Hokkaido Girls and uh the Sakime-san romance series that are in there. I love the absurdity of Sensei, It's Touching Me, which is literally about these two yakuza, with one of them cross-dressing and acting as a dentist,
Mhm.
with absolutely absurdist comedy and love triangles and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Love that. Ghost Reaper Girl from the creator of Rosario Vampire, which is getting a physical viz release, but Witch Watch isn't, for whatever reason.
Oh
It's
wow.
whatever,
No.
I'm not
Not
hurting
hurt.
on the inside or anything. And then even one of the most recent ones that came out, and I'm blanking on the names. I'm gonna pull it up here because I'm forgetting. Go fast, go fast, go fast. Come on, where
Gotta
are
go
you?
fast.
Diamond in the Rough.
Yeah.
Diamond in the Rough, which in and of itself is a diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many great things that are coming from Jump Plus,
Yeah,
and
dude.
I want more people to look into them. And I also really want Shueisha to give us more things from their Jump Plus catalog, because their Jump Plus catalog is actually really big. We
Yeah.
don't we get a mere fraction of the stuff that they are actually publishing on a regular basis.
hmm
So, like, I want more people to pay attention to them so we can get more of it translated over here. Like, it's a free service
Yes, it
too.
is
Like,
free.
that's the insane thing, is that, like, it makes it so that people don't have an excuse not to read official releases on things
Yeah,
when
dude.
it's being handed to us for free.
Yeah.
Like, say what you will about Viz Media and $3 a month, like,
Yeah.
it's free
It's
to
free
read Jump Plus,
$99.
and you get the most recent things.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
Spend
Well
$3 every
said.
day. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right. Very,
But I
very well said,
absolutely,
Axel.
again, love Dandadan. I think it is rookie manga of the year. We'll see if anything tops it. I won't stop that possibility,
Yeah.
because there are a lot of new series that come out every year that you have to wait for a fan translation for. And by all means, there could be something that is just kind of waiting out there. I mean, like, I loved Crazy Food Truck. It wasn't getting, fan translations for a while, and then Viz the other day too is just like, hey, Crazy Food Truck, we're publishing it. It's just like,
Yeah. Love
Yeah,
it.
that was a nice one. I like that a lot.
because that's
But
not
like,
even a Shueisha title. That's Kodansha.
Right,
Like,
right.
what?
It's like, how did this even get here? This is insane.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
But I cut you
Yeah.
off, Mello.
Oh.
You were saying
No
something.
worries.
Oh, sure.
I feel like you saying like it's the rookie series of the year, and I wonder if anything can top it. Like, if Dandadan is this good and anything does top it, I am so here for it.
Yes, absolutely.
like,
Give it to me.
It's like, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna get spoiled one of these days. I'm gonna get spoiled. Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah.
But I'm getting there.
For sure. Incredible conversation, gentlemen. I think that is everything that we wanted from this stream. That is so past due. Thank you all so much for your patience for this stream. Thank you guys for pulling up and watching the stream if you're still here. And big shout out to our new follower Eden Z Blue and Scorpio Mars, I think is how you say that. Shout out to Kaizoku for gifting Mello the tier 1 sub. Shout out to Sean P Dub Warrior for subscribing for 15 months. Big shout out to all of you guys out there. As far as like a major announcement goes in regards to Dandadan, I think now that we've finally done this stream, I can officially say we will be adding it to our special grade coverage week to week, which is extremely exciting. For those of you who don't know, we're Project Manga. We review Weekly Shonen Jump on YouTube, and right now we're covering One Piece, My Hero Academia, Black Clover Mashal, Dr. Stone, and Jujutsu Kaisen. Over on Patreon, we have another Weekly Shonen Jump and Weekly Shonen Magazine review series where we cover things like Undead Unluck, Ranger Reject, which is going to be back on the 20th, thank God, Shangri-La Frontier, Elusive Samurai, and what's the other
Kaiju
one?
Did you say
number
kaiju?
Kaiju number 8. There we go. So we'll be adding Dandadan to that list moving forward. Probably the next episode we do, we'll have Dandadan because I'm just raring to go on that. You know what I mean? So super excited for that. Some people already knew that, but thought I'd make an official statement for it. I'll also make like a tweet about it. But yeah, if you guys showed up late to the stream, or if you weren't able to stay, we will be throwing this on YouTube. We're going to throw it on Patreon for a couple days just so that our early access patrons can eat off that for a little bit. But it will be going on YouTube. We'll set it up as like a premiere style, video so that, you know, you can get the live chat going and whatnot and try to recreate this atmosphere as best as we can for the YouTube viewers. But Axel, thank you so much for joining us tonight or today. We usually do this at night. Thank you for joining us.
I know, right?
Yeah. And I have like all of like my windows closed and shit. So it's like, but yeah, thanks for joining us, man. For those out there who might not be familiar with your content, I'm going to open up the floor to you to go ahead and throw a plug out there. Let them know what you do and where they can find you.
Absolutely. So for those that don't know me, which I mean most of the people in the comments already do, but I'm Axel from Axelablaze Productions. I am the Dolphin Man, but this is my human persona. And I cover I have a weekly podcast that I do covering various anime and manga content. For the month of October, I am doing Spooktober content right now that is getting claimed by YouTube because I am putting in Cartoon Network clips and whatnot.
Fucking YouTube.
But I know. But like the first half of a 2-part Halloween special I've got on there with Eden's Blue and CA analysis. We're talking about the cartoons era of Halloween specials,
Hell
which
yeah.
was the best time. All of the nostalgia. So yeah, you guys can find me at Axelablaze Productions on YouTube. My Twitter handle is Axelablaze_PAC, standing for Productions and Cosplay. Not that I cosplay as much right now, because, you know, conventions.
Yeah.
They're not, you know, going
really
as
a
much.
thing as much. I never knew that that's what PAC stood for. I'm glad that I
Yeah,
got that
so it would have been
information.
Productions.
Yeah.
But I don't think it fits
Sure.
with the Twitter handle.
Right.
Because it's long.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what. Yeah, I know most people don't know that that's what the PAC stands for.
Sure.
But yeah, you can find me on YouTube or Twitter. I've got a Discord group as well, but it's small. All the links and whatnot are on my YouTube channel or on my Twitter for those that are interested in that.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, happy to be a part of this. Always happy to be a part of a project manga discussion since
Yeah,
I get
dude.
to show my face.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
these.
Glad to have you, bro. Always a pleasure, never a chore.
But yeah, it's just in front of my window, and that's why I've been bright video all day. For
You look
this,
good. You
stream.
look good.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you.
What a good face it is.
But all right, that is going to do it for our discussion tonight. Thank you all once again. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. We'll leave you guys with another anime opening for a couple of minutes just to chat and like say thank you once again in the live chat. But all right, we'll see you guys on YouTube. Oh yeah, let me or we'll see you guys on Twitter and Discord and shit. Let me get like all of the links in here real quick. So join our Discord if you're not already. Follow us on Twitter. There's the Patreon if you care. And we are going to go ahead and wrap it up. This is Project Manga, Dandadan One Shots. I'm your host, Nox.
I'm Mellow Yenis.
And I'm the dolphin guy.
And we'll catch y'all next time.